Welcome to Section 8, Working with Akka HTTP. In the previous section, we were working with Akka streams. We have looked into the main parts on Akka streams, sources, flows, and sinks. And we were working with graphs and stream I/O, and finally, we tested them. In this section, we will introduce another module of Akka HTTP. We'll do a quick introduction to the Akka HTTP module and work with the client-side and server-side APIs. We will then implement a RESTful API server and introduce testing. Let's start with the first intro video. First, we'll look at how the HTTP module fits into the Akka ecosystem, and then we'll see which modules it itself is composed of. Let's start. Akka is a toolkit for building highly concurrent and distributed applications. When you think about distribution, you think about how to integrate the stuff that we've just distributed. If you want to distribute your application across threads, Akka gives you actors. And when you want to distribute your application across machines, Akka gives you Akka cluster and Akka remoting. When your application wants to interact with external services, Akka gives you Akka HTTP, since HTTP is the de facto standard of many web-based applications. And the whole world talks using this protocol. It makes sense when you want to talk to the external world, you use HTTP module. Akka HTTP isn't a web framework. It's a toolkit for providing and consuming HTTP-based services. This means the main goal of Akka HTTP is to integrate your application with the external world. And if you think about implementing the web application that has a lot of views, it needs to prepare assets such as images that compress JavaScript and CSS, and so on. Thus, it is better to choose the web framework Play rather than Akka HTTP. The Akka HTTP module is implemented on top of Akka streams, which are implemented on top of Akka actors. Each layer provides additional capabilities and/or limitations to what you can do with them. It has a full server and client-side HTTP 1.1 stack. In other words, if you want to talk with the external service, you will need to use a client-side API. And if you want to provide a service to the world, you will need to use a server-side API. Akka HTTP is structured into several modules. Akka HTTP Core, which contains a complete low-level full server and client-side implementation of HTTP, such as a connection and TLS management. Akka HTTP, which contains higher-level functionality, such as marshalling, compression, decompression, as well as a powerful routing DSL for defining HTTP-based APIs on the server side. Akka HTTP Test Kit, which contains a set of utilities for verifying server-side service implementations. Next, we have Akka HTTP Spray JSON, which contains a predefined glue code for serializing and deserializing custom types from and to JSON with Spray JSON. It is possible to use Akka HTTP with other JSON serializers, and there exist community projects providing these integrations if you prefer to use something other than Spray's JSON library, which is very fast but requires a bit of coding to set up. Lastly, we have Akka HTTP XML, which contains a predefined glue code for serializing and deserializing custom types from and to XML with Scala XML. At the end of the first video on Akka HTTP, we just introduced Akka HTTP module and its structure. In the next video, we will work with client and server-side APIs. See you there!